My next guest is a rapper, actor, entrepreneur, activist, a husband. He's a Renaissance man in every sense of the word. Take me back, however, Killer Mike. Welcome to the
What's
show. What was your first job and what did it teach you?
my first job? Like you had to give your social, or just your first job? Like this is some work you're gonna do for
All of
some
the
money.
above. We here to
All right, so
inspire.
first job is cutting grass because I wanted a pair of shell-toed Adidas. It was my mom. I think she got them for Belk. I think they were $60 maybe at the time, for or maybe 59, and then like 55 tax, and I had to get up $30 myself. So I got the lawnmower. She paid me a dub. I paid the kid next door 10 to cut the grass. I kept the 10. I booked us 5 more yards. I worked them. You know what I mean? And I came up on sneaker money. So that was the first job, the first time that my grandmother had made me cut grass before. But with your grandmother, you might not get paid. Your grandmother says some shit like, "Well, I fed you, baby." You know what I'm saying? You're like, "God damn, I ain't know baked chicken was worth 3 yards." But my first official job, where I say, "Yo, I gotta get a fucking job." My Many people know I talk about my best friend of 40 years is a guy named Robert Hicks. He played for the Buffalo Bills. Stanley Pritchard, who played for the Miami Dolphins, mother was our kindergarten teacher. Robert and I met in kindergarten, and we've been friends all the way through. I remember when Rob showed up to school in the J's. It may have been the Sixes. When he showed up, and I'm like, how in the I know your mama. Your mama's the school secretary. I know she didn't. I know Lily didn't go buy you no in J's. And he said, I got a job. And he worked at, I think he worked at Six Flags that summer, and he got his cousin Tavis, me, and a couple other guys from the high school all went up to Chuck E. Cheese by Cumberland Mall, and all of us got a job. They made the bigger kids, for whatever reason, work in the kitchen. That's when I realized later that if you're big and black, they're gonna want you to lift. So I better use my mind. And so Chuck E. Cheese was the first official got to give your social job. And then I think I made like $120 my first check, and my grandmother took like 100 and gave me $20 back. And that's when I realized grandmothers be scamming, bro. She started a savings account though, and made me save my money. So shouts out to Miss Betty.
But also, she was teaching you pre-taxes what you was going to have to do when you start making your own bread. It's like you
Yeah,
living here
yeah,
rent free. I'm feeding
yeah,
you and all of that stuff.
absolutely.
That's basically taxes. You using a phone, coming in and out of the door, right? So that's basically what she was doing.
Unlike the IRS though, my grandmother did invest my money wisely and make sure that I had something left. Like, the IRS, we don't know what happened to that money. That money just be gone. Like God bless the IRS. I call them my business partners. I pay. I don't want no trouble.
Absolutely. So obviously you're from Atlanta, rich
Yep.
musical tradition, Outkast, Goody Mob, TLC, Usher, Jermaine Dupri. I could go on and on and on. And by the way, Detroit and Atlanta, you know we're cousins. We're just cousins.
Let me
That's how.
tell you, man. Before Outkast, there was a artist named Kilo from Born Homes, Kilo Ali. There are two records that are currently out right now where you hear "oh ah ah ah" and you hear the phrase "love all in your mouth." Those are both Kilo. Kilo, I remember looking in the Source magazine. They would tell you who was charting and where. Kilo was charting in Atlanta, which was his hometown. He was from the same housing projects as Shawty Low. And the other place he was charting was Detroit. So the Detroit and Michigan period have long supported Atlanta artists, man. And I just want to say I appreciate when every time I hear "What Up, Though" or see a Fago getting passed or some felines getting worn, I know I got a friend in the airline in the house, man.
What inspired you to get into music?
I was too chubby to break dance, and like so, yeah, you
I was
you.
the head spin and the back spin guy. It wasn't really tight like
Listen, man.
Leon B Street.
So there's a kid named Cameron Dollar, who won an NCAA championship with UCLA. Now
Mm-hmm.
coaches out in Seattle. Cam was it takes steel to sharpen steel. So we went to elementary school together. His father, Donald Dollar, and his brother Chad were also basketball legends. His brother ahead of him, and his dad was a famous coach at Frederick Douglass High School, an amazing coach, and he also held me in school suspension a lot. So Cam was like my third grade rival. We were both chubby little kids. He was a lot better at sports and basketball than I was. My friends were better at baseball, football. I was good at talking and swallowing spit. I couldn't backspin to save my life, even though I wanted to be a breakdancer. But the dopest thing about my friendship and rivalry with Cam and my other friends is they were so good at what they were doing, it forced me to say, I have to find something I'm good at. So in lieu of not being able to cut linoleum or put enough Wesson cooking oil on that to accomplish that backspin, I just started rapping. And my dad, I have a bio dad and a non-bio dad. So I'm blessed with two fathers. But my non-bio dad let me listen to all his record collections and never me. I just could play records at will. And my bio dad talks and raps. Like, how you doing? I'm pretty fair for a square. And so I had a knack with words, and I would rap over my dad's records, and I got good at it. And the older boys let me hang around, and I would still go watch my homies like Robert play baseball or Cam play basketball, but I'd be on the side just rapping to myself, and I'd get a chance to hang out with my uncle and his friends because I entertained them. So I figured by 6th or 7th grade, you have to pick a friend in class and write what they want to be when they grow up. And Robert Hicks wrote I was going to be a rapper. I wrote at that time I was going to be a baseball player because he didn't play football yet. And it turned out he went pro, and I ended up getting a record deal. And here we go.
That's dope. And a lot of other things you continue to do is fight for social and civil justice for others. Today's theme is finding joy in a painful era. So as an activist, as I mentioned, you're always fighting for the rights of others. How do you maintain your joy during difficult times?
Well, I'm sitting here with my joy. I'm here with my wife, and I don't say that just to win any husband points. I see you smiling though. But I'm sitting as I talk to you. There's a garage behind me. It's a third of a block. We own this. We bought this from my uncle's widow. God bless my uncles. I married a woman who was much like my grandmother, who was, I'm not an Abrahamic religion practitioner, but I was raised Christian. But in Proverbs 10-31, it talks about the type of wife that a man should have. And my wife is the description that is described in that particular Bible verse. And I've been very lucky in that, you know what I'm saying? So, she is my joy in these times because I am with someone in this life and hopefully the next. When my grandfather died, I remember it's amazing how comedy finds its way in the tragedy to lift your heart. But he died in a boating accident because he was a fisherman. And I remember telling my grandma that, hey, I said, at least grandma, he died doing what he loved. That cliche shit you see in the movies. And she stood there, she sat on the bed and she looked at my wife and I said, shit, he like coming home too. He like coming home, sitting right here on this bed next to me. And I realized that truly, that was she didn't even get out of the car to see him lowered in the ground. His sisters did, his family, our family did, but she could not bring herself to come with the finality that one day he wasn't going to come back in that door. And I have experienced that with my wife, that feeling of I don't want to not be with her in this life or the next. So I will say she is my joy, and there are many joyful things I celebrate being a father of 4 wonderful human beings. I just left brunch with my business partner, crazy ass T.I. He and I have we're like Andrew Young and Hosea Williams, man. We have 2 radically different ways of approaching things, but we are the best of friends. I'm lucky in that, and joy feel that I get to talk to my hero today. So I'm a person that seeks joy, not always pleasure. You go to the Blue Flame or Magic City or pleases to seek pleasure sometimes, but I'm a joy seeker. I look for the good and the optimism. If I'm a 10-year-old boy and I walk in a room full of horse, I'm looking for the pony. Like that, someone's got to give me a pony. There's a pony in it. So I purposely seek joy.
You've always been a pillar and a leader in our community. Recently, you launched Greenwood, a digital banking platform for Black and Latino people. And thousands of people signed right up.
Yeah, 150,000 and more.
Why was it important for you to do that?
Well, I've been pushing the line on Bank Black. And when you hear me say Bank Black, I want the greater world to know that it's not only Black people that can bank with Greenwood X or traditional Black banks, which would include Carver, which would include Citizens Trust or One United. Banking Black oftentimes is a better way than charity. To help turn a dollar in the community more than once helps that community strengthen itself economically, stabilizes that community, allows better schools, better housing, more stable incomes for families. So I'm also saying a lot of times bank small, bank local, bank regional. And I'm also encouraging big banks to invest in these banks that are often small, regional, or community specific. We would not have Bank of America if it was not for the Bank of Italy. If Italian citizens had not chosen to form their own bank, through Ellis Allen, then we would not have Bank of America, which is one of the largest banks in the world today. We have the opportunity to do that and more in our community. And with Greenwood, we're servicing the Black and the Latinx community and the unbanked. Because a lot of times when you're in a community like I am right now, I remember a time there were 4 banks within 4 miles of here. Now it's hard to find even one bank. But yet these people are still working. They still cash their checks every week, but they're being gouged by check cashing places, by liquor stores, and by unscrupulous businesses. And what I would like to see is unbanked people banking, since 65% of people who are banking right off their phone now. Greenwood as a platform works perfectly for that. And in the spirit of Greenwood, which was a town in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was independent, self-reliant, self-sufficient, and turned $1.36 times until it was interrupted by hatred, racism, and a savage killing of that town, it would have prospered to, I believe, be one of the greatest American cities. That spirit lives on in this banking platform and in the practices they carry. So when you upcharge off a Greenwood card, that upcharge goes to the United Negro College Fund or the NAACP. When you have an opportunity to become more financially literate and you start understanding why savings will work and eventually I need to take a loan out. Greenwood's purpose right now is to grow into a loaner for housing, for cars, for small businesses and capital injection. So I just believe it's the right boat to be on. And I'm going to keep pushing the line for the company because I keep pushing the line for the community. And I understand if I want you to be free, a major burden poor people have is not controlling their dollar. And I truly believe helping working class people do that makes for a stronger economy for all of us.
You were once on the campaign trail with Bernie Sanders. And
yeah,
as we sit here today, there may be a change in office happening in our White House.
Yeah.
What would you ask the next president to do that could benefit the Black community?
Well, I asked him to do the same thing that I have to credit Nina Turner and I for asking him to do. And he agreed to do had he had an opportunity to have the nomination. And I believe he would have defeated easily our current president. But that was signed H.R. 40. H.R. 40 is a bill to begin the study of what reparations are owed. According to the Baptist church, the white folk Baptist church too, not just the ones our grandma go to, we are owed. Exactly. We're owed in excess of $15 trillion. You hear everybody from people like the professor Dr. Cosby to the sisters and brothers, my man Anthony, and I'm forgetting their names from there, Yvette Carnell and my man Tonio Moore. You hear them with ADOS. You hear Tariq with Foundational Black Americans. NCOBRA is one of the largest organizations. We are owed something for reparations. This bill would begin that. John Connors tried from 1989 until he passed a year or two ago to get that bill passed. The first step I would ask any American president, including the current one, would be to enact that study to see what we're duly owed. And I'd like to tell anybody on the other side of this that's not Black, that does not understand, what's happening is America has been in a foot race with the rest of the world. And America has had all types of economic advantages, including but not limited to slavery, right? Mm-hmm. To get an economic upstep on the world stage because it was such a young country. You have a section of Americans that were held back. They were held back because of slavery. They were held back because of Jim Crowism. They were held back because of redlining. They're currently being held back by things like banking deserts and food deserts. And if we do not allow that part of our country, that population, to become economically stronger by giving an economic injection, the same way we did with immigrants, the same way we did as we gave away middle America, the same way we've done with land lotteries, the same way we did with the GI Bill that we did not allow them participate in. We are actually weakening the country. Because if you're the strongest athlete ever, and this tendon at the back of your ankle, your Achilles pops, all of a sudden hobbled. Doesn't mean you can't finish the game, but goddamn, it's gonna be hard to try to beat your opponent like that. So essentially, what we're saying is, let this bill be passed so we can study what is old, so we can put us on the path to repairing that tendon so we can be an even stronger country. If the African American community is stronger in terms of economics, in terms of education, in terms of having families, then the whole country begins to be stronger. 54% of us live in the South. A lot of the South is still undeveloped and underdeveloped. The number one export agriculturally out of Georgia, I believe, is still cotton. So that means all the $1,000 t-shirts we buy from Balenciaga, Yaga, or whatever the new name is we're buying this year, it comes right out of the land that our great-grandparents have toiled and sold. We should own more of that land. We should push for marijuana legalization and for us to control as much of the product or as much of the business as we populate in each state. If we're 35% of Georgia, we deserve 35% of the cultivation of that. We deserve land. So for me, I'd get that study signed, and then I'd start to see how can I support HBCUs. If you look at a town like Tuskegee was started after the Civil War with the help of philanthropists, with the help of government, to be a town that functioned as an engine for Alabama. We can revitalize Tuskegee, Alabama right now. We can make sure that engineering is there. We can make sure that farming and trades is there. We can make sure a lot of places in the South that are still underdeveloped get developed, and make sure that African Americans now have equal footing in terms of economic and educational resources. Education without economics don't mean shit. It just means you're going to be a smart motherfucker at a job. But when you marry education and economics, then you have an opportunity to be entrepreneurs. You have an opportunity to drive this capitalistic machine in a way that's more favorable for your community. That's what I believe begins it, but I do not have all the answers. I would consult with people like who run Racial Justice Now, the New Georgia Project. I'd get Tesla and Figueroa over there, get brilliant brothers like Dr. Cosby again, I said. The prior names I name, I bring them in, and I get the best among us, including but not limited to people like Claude Anderson. I don't care how people don't feel about this, and I get Ice Cube. Why? Because Ice Cube has built a $150 million company. Most of y'all niggas ain't built a $150,000 house.
Preach.
And I don't say you didn't buy one, I say build one.
Preach,
you understand? So for me, I would get the best and sharpest minds we have, and I'd do polling and committee the same way they did the Atlanta conference 100 years ago in Atlanta with W.B. Du Bois and Booker T. I'd get in more rooms together and figure out what our agenda is. But first and foremost, I'd get us involved in that HR 40 bill to make sure that bill gets passed so that we can do this study. And the other thing we can do in the immediate is every new marijuana law that is passed, I would make a federal mandate that it has to have this much Black participation, since when marijuana was illegalized in 1937, it was done on the backs of Blacks.
Absolutely. And all of this has not stopped you creatively from getting in the studio, you and your partner in crime, LP, and spitting bars.
Man.
Your 4 is out. Tell me about the inspiration on this album and how you guys continue to push each other creatively.
Man, I just love rapping with L. It's nothing else to say. Man, it's just something about what I feel like is underground rap. If you love Dilla, if you love Mr. Esquire, if you love Danny Brown, you love, what I'm saying? If you old school style, if you love Pharcyde, Beat Us, then you just, and if the golden era, Cool J, Run DMC, Q, T, like you gonna feel it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So for me, I just love rapping, and I found somebody who I'm a perfect partner in rap with, and we have a sound that's uniquely ours. And what I love most about being in Run the Jewels is not since Outkast have I seen an audience and group trust each other that much. Our audience trusted us to do our last album in RTJ3, and it was dark, it was moody, it was blue. It was like Trump got elected. You know what I mean? I remember people just like, and we were just like, here's something to get you through. And now this album is fiery and electric and hope-filled, and still very truthful about the goings on of the world. But if you look at the energy this year in a hopeless year, people are more hope filled than I've ever seen, and electric and in the streets and pushing for. People are hungry and their neighbors are feeding them. They're not waiting. You know, people are seeing injustices, and kids with skateboards are battling against cops with shields to make sure that kids who don't look like them are not being abused. So it is the perfect timing for what we always do. We always do music in this spirit, but this is a new sound for us this go round. It is a more fiery and energetic spirit than the last offering, because it's not as blue. It's not hopeless, as that last one wasn't hopeless, but your hope got beat up a little the last go round. But with this one, man, it's full of hope, full of aspiration, and it's some G shit. I love it, and I appreciate our audience for trusting us on the journey. And I look forward to actually getting out on the road with Rage Against the Machine next year and performing for you guys.
And I pay attention. I saw you get verse of the year, verse of the month. I saw y'all standing on stage, spitting a cappella. Like, just tell me, take when you say dark, you say black, you say blue. For those that haven't gotten a chance to experience the Run the Jewels, haven't gotten a chance to take in the Run the Jewels experience, bring them behind the curtain of what that is, what that's like.
Well, I mean, it is high powered bars. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Me and L, we two 15-year-old boys in a rap off. You know, when it comes to the beats, like we there rapping. It is a one producer produced album. We have associate producers in Taco and Wilder Zobi, who make up Little Shalimar. But LP is the helm of production. So just like it back in the days, Dre produced NWA. He produced Snoop. Banks and Too Short produced that album. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Dilla produced. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what we have. We have two essentially 15-year-old minds locked in a room making the hardest they possibly can. So I had to start getting in the gym because I got tired of people hitting me like, man, this is the most amazing gym music. I lost 50 pounds. And I'm like, I might need to try this. So if you need to pick me up or wake me up, a runner's music, or lifting music, or fucking go fast Hellcat music, Run the Jewels is it. It is punch you in your face, dope ass rap music.
And before I let you get out of here, I want to thank you and your queen for joining me today, taking the time. That's much love. I do a segment called Gone in 60 Seconds, where I ask you a string of rapid fire questions, and please answer as fast as possible so I can get through as many as possible.
Let's get it.
First up, out of 5, how good are the wings at Magic City?
Oh man, the wings at the Flame is a 5. At Magic City, I would give them a 4, absolutely.
Really? I got to hit the Flame immediately. I'll wear a mask. Give me one song that best represents Atlanta.
The one song that best represents Atlanta? Oh, man. Oh, Players Ball Outkast. Easy.
Oh, yeah. And put that on a Christmas album. How genius was that?
Yes, man. Shout out the face for that.
That was genius. Name one Atlanta artist that you haven't collabed with that you would like to.
Oh, Thug.
That's a great one.
Thug.
Which sneaker silhouette?
I love Thug.
Which sneaker silhouette is more essential to your wardrobe? Air Max 1s or Jordan 1s?
Air Max 1s. So there are two Michaels. There's Michael Render, the dad. There's 3 Michaels. Grandpa Michael, but he's not in this one. There's me, Michael Render, and then there's my daughter, Mikey, Michael Render. My daughter is a Jordan 1 head. I am an Air Max 1 head. So we're at perpetual war over the 85 Jordans or the 87 Air Maxes. And since I buy the sneakers, I win. But she only wears the ones, and the Jordan 1s, and I only wear the Air Max 1s.
2 more. Who's closer to bringing Atlanta a title? The Falcons or the Hawks?
The Grady debate team that beat Harvard twice. No, I gotta go with the Hawks though. I think the Hawks are gonna win one. And shouts out to the Braves as an honorable mention.
Absolutely. And Trey Young, he is that deal. Last but not least. Yes,
Trey is nasty.
He's shooting that thing from Alpharetta.
And making them with his eyes closed.
And
But shout
last but
out, man.
not least,
All right, let's get it.
our brothers. If T.I. and Jeezy were both running for mayor of Atlanta, who would get your vote?
If T.I. and Jeezy were running for mayor of Atlanta, I would vote T.I. for mayor, and I would put Jeezy as as head of city council.
That's a good one. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
that way, because Jeezy would meet with he would. I feel like he'd handle the council members like he worked in collaborations with a lot of good brothers from Detroit. I think he knows cooperation well. Ti needs the alpha office.
Like, Mr. 17.5, that is.
Yes. Yo, hey man, I just want to say I love and respect you, brother. And anytime you and your wife in Atlanta, please make sure you hit up me and Shay. Let us
Yes,
take you
sir.
to dinner.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Appreciate the love.